Coming to you live from the Show Me State, the birthplace of James Mercer Langston Hughes. It's the Colbert Connection. Your hosts, Melody and Donika, are connecting you to the world through Facebook Live with today's hot topics and creative conversations. I'm your announcer, DR Colbert, working hard for a free meal and a bottle of crushed grapes. And now, here's your host of the Colbert Connection, Melody Colbert King and Donika Colbert.
Hey.
I was seeing if they was going to say anything.
Hey, we will eventually.
Okay, the Colbert Connection. It's 6 o'clock. It's Tuesday. Melody Colbert King.
Troy Thomas here.
Danika Colbert.
Yeah.
We're all checking in. Are you checking in?
Checking in.
Checking in. Checking in.
There's a lot going on.
Yes, sir.
Start us off, girl. Start us off.
So what? Okay, week before last, because I wasn't here last week.
Yes.
Week before last, we mentioned 5 states were
Cutting
denying.
it off.
Yes.
The
There's
pain.
now
Yes.
18 states. And Oklahoma
Oh.
has put a stimulus behind the people going back to work. So you find a job,
Yeah.
the governor wants to put $1,200 push behind, oh, you found a job.
Incentive to stay. Is there a certain time
What do
limit
we
they have
think
to
about
stay?
that? I mean, at this rate, I really could care less. Just go get
Just
one.
go get one.
Just go get
So
one.
you get an extra stimulus
Yeah,
for going to
for
work.
going to
That's
work.
what I like to hear. Stimulate the people to go to work. Motivate them to go.
I wonder how many will pick up.
Not many.
How many states will? I wonder how many states will do the same. Follow
You
suit.
know Missouri ain't gonna do that.
Well, I mean, we are on the list of the 18, so
Yeah, that's the cut off.
we'll see.
Yeah.
We see how many employers, how many people in position own companies that are hurting for employees. That will be
all of
the
them.
tell. Would you right?
It is. But
You're
and we
right.
have to realize too, though, I think you have two.
James Sermons. I'm sorry.
Man, she
It's
makes me
really
glad.
small on
Just
here. I need
James.
glasses.
How about James? We work with that.
He says, what about the people who have already been working through the pandemic? I am with you.
Dude.
What about?
How are
They need
y'all
a
gonna
break,
get stimulated?
Look,
Yeah.
but I mean, I feel like when we were stimulating the unemployment, there should have been a stimulus or a package or something put behind the people that were, what's the word? The required employees. What was the word? Come on.
Essential.
Thank you. Essentials. I
Which
think there should
everybody
have
was essential.
Yeah, I think there should have been something put behind that too.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't get a
Because
data
we
boy.
appreciate you.
You don't
if
get a
nobody-
data boy for stuff you're supposed to do.
I give out the attaboys for the stuff you're supposed
But
to do.
everybody is supposed to do it. You supposed to work. Is
Yeah.
that what I mean?
Or so we were taught,
So we were taught.
right? Because
Well, whether you're working your brain, working
Look,
your physical,
this is
working, you work.
we've had this
Some
conversation many
Yes.
times about
Yes.
we were taught you work and then if you need more, you get a side hustle, you create your all those things,
Right.
and we working ourselves to death.
And not able to enjoy it.
Yeah, and
Right.
then so. Are we the ones that are wrong, or is it the people that have found a smarter way?
I ain't
don't
mad
know.
at
I don't know.
I
I
am
mean,
not
it's to
mad.
make you question.
It does.
Yeah.
We've had that conversation. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't know. But
Because-
you're right. They having fun, and I'm over here working, going to the side hustle. So you're right. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not mad at them. That's all I'm saying. I
What
reshifted
say
my
you?
priorities.
What say you? That's what we
Yeah,
want to know.
Facebookers, tell
What
us
y'all
what's
want to
going
say
on
about it?
The people
don't
who
know.
are working and the people who aren't working.
Yeah.
Because y'all watching too.
Yeah, why? Why are you, if you choose, and if you feel free to identify with those that
Yeah.
are not working, why?
And we understand.
I mean, because something in me says I feel good knowing I'm gonna pay my bills at the end of the month and there's no unknowns. And but maybe you don't have any bills to pay. I don't know.
Could be.
But even
Well, you're
that's,
giving everybody a lot of credit.
no, I'm just, but you know what I'm saying.
She's eliminating a lot of the
I
excuses.
just want to know, like, how do you go? If I were to say, I'm gonna walk off this job. Well, I got some things that have to be paid. So what's gonna happen with those?
They're going to sit there.
Choices,
Probably
man.
not in my garage. Is probably what you're saying. But that's
Fletcher will
but
be
that's-
by to pick up
You
your
know what I'm
vehicle.
saying? Yes. I'm like, they would be by with quickness, and you know what I'm saying. So I'm trying.
You got to be all right to allow things to come and go.
James says also. He says he works
I'm
because he
done.
also was raised the same way. Like you go to work. You
No, I
work.
was too, yeah.
But that doesn't mean that that's the right way.
Right. That's
That's-
what
doesn't
mean that's the
right way.
Girl.
So what
Tell her.
would be
Planets is
another
alive.
option?
Huh?
What would be
Work smarter. That's what we
Right.
said. Work smarter, not harder. If you can do in 2 days what it used to take you in 5 or 6 or 7 days, everybody gonna go with that. Unless you just want to be busy.
A lot of us are used to just being busy.
And there's busy and there's production. Busy don't always equal production.
true?
Plus, people learning in the pandemic, maybe their lifestyles just a little bit too much.
Yeah. Priorities have shifted. The planet shifted,
I
the
can see
priorities shifted.
I can see that.
That's
So
what
you
I'm going
decide,
with.
like, you walk in your closet. I even wear 75% of this stuff.
They say you only keep 10 of them items that you wear because you wear the same 10 all over time.
Minimalists.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And don't-
yeah.
yeah.
Not all of us are there. At
You
this
need
point.
to get you some knowledge.
So our buddy John Buck just recently went into the minimalist category, and I mean, when I tell you everything must go from his house, I mean, he's like, you can have the counter, you can have everything but the cat, and I was like, okay, everything.
Power to you.
I mean, but if you see pictures of his house at this point, like,
well, there are some minimal things that I like to keep, but I can agree, because there is, like you're saying about the clothes, just hanging up doing nothing, shoes just hanging up doing it, but
never knew. I need to dust them off and wear them somewhere. That's the problem.
But also, we're missing the point. There's a universal principle, too, that some stuff you got to allow to go so you can allow new to come in.
True that.
Agreed.
That's true.
You're
That's
so
true.
smart.
No,
That's why we keep
man.
him around.
We would just be like, man, I tell you.
Hey,
Everybody ain't able, right?
hey, I just get in where I fit in over here.
Josh says he likes his stuff though, and I'm with Josh. Like, I've acquired in all my years all this stuff, and I like some of it.
Stuff.
It is just stuff.
Yes.
True.
So
But
anyway.
and when it's your time, somebody else has to get rid of your stuff. So
They do it real good, too. They'll
You know.
clean y'all stuff out.
I
so
mean,
quick.
just put it out like they didn't even care.
Naked you came into this world, naked you will leave this world.
Right.
And somebody will spend all your hard-earned money. They will wear your clothes or sell them. They will get rid of your house or sell whatever. So yeah, we acquire stuff to enjoy it while we're here, and then when it's over, it's
You
over.
ever see, though, when people die or something, they go through that house so quick, and they get everything.
No.
And then they pilfer through it like it ain't. Now, you'd be
I
like,
think it's
stop,
I
don't.
think- no,
That's
wait.
precious. They like,
I think it's
That's
a
what I'm
culture.
saying.
I think it's a culture thing because I think that we hold on to a lot of things and like probably too long. And everybody's, I think, time is a little different, but I think, some cultures like, hey, that weekend everything gone.
Yes.
In other cultures, it's like,
I don't like junk.
It's
Clutter.
been 2 years and maybe we should get rid of, and you're like, it has been 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's sometimes a culture thing, maybe.
Could be. I mean, my husband, William, has to tell me to hold on to stuff, especially financial documents, because he's an accountant. So, because I'm like, chuck it. I don't need it. This is the new year.
I feel like this.
I gotta hold on to those for at least 10 years. I'm like, that's too long.
get rid of
I'll
them
take a
because
picture of it.
get rid of the evidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bruh, what are y'all saying?
I'm like, because if they come to get you, they got you anyway.
Shred and shred often.
Look, speaking of William.
Shred and shred.
Speaking of William, he says, occasionally you must reward yourself. It's visual affirmation.
And just,
You know what,
see
cousin?
you, husband.
Cousin, yes.
Okay, child.
I'm going to
Hey.
reward myself this evening.
We do plenty of rewarding each other ourselves. Yeah.
We reward ourselves too much. We have a lot of stuff.
That's what.
Moving to
Okay, what you got?
because the mask stuff has been relaxed. It has been very much relaxed, and I'm glad for that. But now we have people having anxiety
What you saying?
taking off the mask. Like, oh my gosh, should I wear it or should I not? What in the entire hell is going on? What? But. And I'm glad we got Miss Dola here today. Later on, but that's because we mental.
Okay, so you and I have always been on different sides of this bad boy. So Mel was always I'm not wearing it. And I'm like, well, the sign says put your mask on. And if I'm going into Walmart with people, I'm putting my mask on.
She's a
but
upholder,
I have always been a put your mask on. So let me tell you, so now that it's relaxed,
Mm-hmm.
even still, like the other day we were at the dealership and I was like, well, I better put my mask on. Even though.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things.
It's ingrained now.
It is.
Yes.
And it's And I'd rather take the precaution because people are dirty, and we know this.
And they've been dirty forever.
They have been. They have been.
They've been dirty forever.
It's the same people who wanted to be covered up.
They wanted
to be covered up before it. That's
hey. Troy is dropping gems on us today, y'all.
But you're right though, because when I find myself out and I don't have my mask on, you know those faces you be making under your mask that you didn't realize you had your mask on. Like,
you could be what you want to be under that mask. Hey.
That mask and
yes.
You
okay,
wait, full Monty right here.
We got some comments tonight. Let's see what we got. Cousin William says, quality over quantity, cousin. And mask anxiety is real. T says, take care of yourself first. And Auntie K says, put your mask on, Melody.
No.
Yes.
No. I've had it on a year and a half.
She sure hasn't, but she has not been hanging out with me. No, I'm just playing.
And she lying every Tuesday and some other days of the week. But it's like we've been saying at the beginning. What are you comfortable with?
That's
exactly.
Right. Do what works for you.
I am not judging you or telling you what to do. Do what you do.
Absolutely.
Vaccinate. Do what you do. If that makes you comfortable and you are good with that, then do it.
Now here's the question. Why not? So places when you're going to have to start showing this card, right? Your vaccination card. What we think about that?
We just like dogs now. You can't go nowhere.
Show your papers.
You gotta have your card.
Show your papers.
Yeah, are you a poodle or what?
Yeah. Man,
you got your rabies shots?
Man, no, negative.
Okay, I got another question. Do you think it's going to be required for school in the fall for kids?
Just like any other vaccinations, there's a exemption for all of them. So there we go.
Get you.
There's exemptions.
Yeah, get your religion right. You can.
It's probably somewhere
religion.
In there. But there is a religious exemption.
That's one of the avenue.
There's a social exemption. There's a another. It's like 3 different ones. But yeah, so you can't force somebody to get a shot.
I feel you.
And it's like what in the what?
I think it's interesting.
I mean, is this America or is this America?
I mean, it was
America.
Now say, speaking of rights, so the FAA, let's break that down: Federal Aviation Association Administration.
Federal Aviation Administration.
Yeah, I gotta be the one to figure that out.
You know, I
there's an
article all the time. I know what it is.
There was an article about wanting to weigh people before they get on the plane.
Help us. Help us.
What you gonna do? You have that scale right there on when you board?
I mean, whatever they do for your luggage, they're gonna be like, I'm gonna step on up here with your luggage because we need to make sure that you are. But, and I am not. Your weight is your business. But when you sit next to somebody on that plane in these confined quarters like this, and they intruded on your section, it's a little, you feel some type of way.
You glad you got that armrest?
It don't help.
Coming out the sides.
You have to lift it up so they can continue intruding on your area.
Hey.
So, buy another ticket, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know either.
No, I was on the plane not too long ago, and I was just noticing that. And I was saying that, the plane felt heavy. Okay, and I'm like, because it was just like, I'm like, I don't know if it's crowded or
we going left, y'all.
Yeah.
That was that subliminal. It just triggered something in the back of your mind.
You're right.
It triggers that. Is this plane gonna hold? Never mind all the luggage is in the underground.
Yeah, but I was in the back of it and it felt like the front wheels were coming off. Yeah.
Help us. Pray for us, y'all. We need some help. But it is true.
But yeah, because, let's be real. They only hold a certain weight.
True.
Right?
And sometimes they do make people buy an extra ticket.
So, but you don't know that when you buy the ticket, right? Or unless you just know, hey, I know I'm 500 pounds, I'm going to need 2 tickets. Like, do you just be honest with it and do that? Or do you wait? Because at that point, who gets booted for you to have 2 tickets? I'm trying to understand.
A lot of people quit weighing themselves anyway. Sometimes they don't want to know. So that'd be the only time they'd ever got.
But if you ain't fitting in that seat.
Well, yeah.
The seats is one side except for
but what's the weight limit in that seat before you know that you're too big for it?
Bruh.
You
you can pull up a plane inside online now, and you can look at that. See, it will give you the dimensions.
Yeah, the dimensions, but you know.
You know if you exceed in them dimensions.
Look,
that's all we're saying.
We digress.
Yeah, we do that often. But thank y'all for hanging
we got
in there
comments.
with us.
We got some comments. Okay, hold up. So Tyraya says, "Hello, Tai. I'm curious what happens when people question either about their mask and they become violent."
Yeah.
People don't mind.
You got the mask police. There are mask police that, and I mean mask police as in everyday people, but they work somewhere or they're manning a door or whatever, and they're, do you have your mask? I mean, what are you going to tackle them if they don't put it on, or what are you going to do?
Look.
You going to call cops on them? What you going to do?
Are you looking at me like I'm
asking
questions? See, this is a good question for Dad, because he's that guy. He's like, hey,
he is that guy.
Hey, you want my money?
Uncle
You know,
B.
put that mask on.
And it comes back to the choices.
The truth.
Hey,
truth.
I can choose to spend my money here, or I can choose not to, or you
elsewhere.
can choose to not have me. You know,
absolutely.
Those are choices.
So here's another one. Sister Anita Reeves, hello, ma'am. We should think about the lives of other people when it comes to wearing a mask. Things such as her grandson's heart transplant is the primary reason why she wears her mask.
And we get that. Mm-hmm. And that's why we said, yes, do what works for you. Absolutely.
Let's see. Weighing people before they get on, says James. It's silly. We agree.
Because we don't really know how you're going to tactfully do that.
I don't think they even
there ain't gonna be no tag.
You know what? Maybe they can do it though when they like go and do the one, or when you like get the extra beep and you got to go to the back room and they constantly on the scale while you back here.
Yeah, but there ain't gonna be no way doing dignity because you know when you get on there and then they say
tilt,
hey.
tilt,
because you know everybody gonna be looking too. They gonna be like, you know, ooh wee.
Save me and save you.
Or what happens if it's like 300 is the number and you're 302?
You don't get to get
on.
Think about
that.
They
got limits.
Go to the bathroom real quick. Go to the bathroom real quick. Just run in there and eliminate.
I gotta eat Jolly Ranchers this week, so I don't be overweight living. I gotta fly out this week. I mean, come on.
That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
I'm interested to see how it plays out.
It will be interesting.
I am interested.
But I'm interested because this is Mental Health Month. May is.
It's almost over. Will you just tell us for it?
Well, because I just remembered. Mental health. There's a lot of stuff going on. But there's a lot of things that mental health falls under. And the pandemic, I think, increased so much of it. You know? With students, with elderly people, with just everybody in general.
People that probably didn't even realize they had an issue.
Yes. And I'm not saying you got to be like crazy or nothing like that. It's just a strain on your mental health.
Plus the unknown. People are scared because the
just
unknown, and then that leads to anxiety, and then now we're into it.
And we got everything. But anyway, so when we come back, when we have Dola Michelle is going to be joining us, and she is going to she might touch on mental health, but she's going to be talking about equity, diversity, and inclusion.
I'm trying to understand.
But all of that can relate.
Your mental health?
Absolutely. Because if you're not being treated equitable, if you're not, if diversity is non-existent, and if you're not being included of some, yes, that will weigh on your mental health.
Did you just make that up?
No, I didn't.
But I am interested to talk to her about how we, as a people, put those three together.
Yes.
Right? And made it positions, made it a thing.
I love
right?
it.
You know what I mean? Like, why those three?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because are those the most important?
Yeah.
Or
that's what I want to know.
And that's what we're going to find out when we come back with Dola Michelle. fish, and slamming fried chicken. Collard greens, mac and cheese, and homemade cornbread. We even have your favorite Kool-Aid. You know, red. Delicious home cooking is what we do, serving love on a plate just for you. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're glad y'all hung with us because we know that was a little touchy, but thank you for your comments and for being included in the discussion.
Included.
Mm-hmm.
Included. Yeah. There we go. Included.
We usually have a very diverse conversation.
We do. May not be equitable all the time.
No.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good to lead us to Dola Michelle. Dola.
Hi.
You are finally here.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Man, you are a busy lady.
It's a lot of work to do.
Okay. I ain't even going to belabor I want you to give us a little insight on you and how you got to where you are, and then just move right in. We're going to move right into it.
Sure. So I'm from Joplin, which is in a very diverse area. Being a biracial person, I really had a lot of experiences around trying to fit in different spaces. And so that just led me to having this passion and desire to make sure that people feel included and welcomed and that things are equitable. And so I actually was in grad school whenever I decided this would be the type of work I do when I started looking at the data. So that led me into diversity, equity, and inclusion work.
The data.
So let's talk about that because I found it interesting that we put those three together. Why those three, do you feel?
So this is definitely going to be from the book of Dola. But so just as a society, historically, we have diverse people were kind of sectioned off by themselves and not given the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. So as we see that changing and becoming more diverse as a nation, there's more need to talk about diversity.
Right.
And as we talk about differences and diversity, which is the vast differences between people, then we start talking about how do you fit in or how do you be included? Are the way that we do things fair for everyone? And that's that equity piece. So as we become more diverse, we got to pay really close attention to make sure that everyone is being supported in the same ways and that they do feel a sense of belonging.
That's good. Now, when people hear diversity, the first thing that pops up in their mind overwhelmingly is they think black and white. But it's so much larger than that. Can you expound on that it's not just a black and white issue?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up because it's true. Most people think diversity and they instantly go to race issues, but it's so much broader than that. What we know is there are many different identity groups who have issues related to equity, whether that be people from in poverty or people with ability needs or people who are immigrants. So we just have all of these different groups. Diversity essentially is all of the differences that we have, whether that be your skill sets, your hobbies, whatever that is. I tend to focus on that social structure of identities, but yes, it's far more than race.
I just wish people understand that because when they first hear diversity, the first thing they think of is black and white color. They think of, the color. And it's like, no, it's much larger than that. So when you're discussing that and you are the founder or the co-founder of Joplin for Justice?
I'm a co-founder, yes.
A co-founder. What brought that about to actually get this organization going, and what are you championing?
Yes, so Joplin for Justice started after the murder of George Floyd by the police. So there was a protest downtown. I went by there to support. I happened to be in the area. and kind of just organically became the leader of that protest. I saw a lot of young people needing support and stepped into that role. After, I had a group of people reach out to me, and they were like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
We are not done standing up. We are not done advocating for change. What's next? And from that, we decided we would start a social media platform and help to bring people together who have similar goals and coordinate those efforts.
How do you keep your people, especially young people, encouraged? Because I know a lot of the times you do the things, right? All the things, you do the marches, you do all the things. Nothing changes. How do you keep them encouraged?
You know, I really try to look for those small wins to highlight. It really is just step by step, like setting that goal, knowing what you want, and then making decisions about how to get there. And so, yes, showing them the small wins and also progress over time, I think helps. Also, if you can have like a piece of swag or candy, that helps too.
Bribery is always good.
It is. People want the free stuff. Oh, if we show up and get a shirt, okay, I'm there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get right into, because I know you have approached the Joplin School Board probably numerous times now about championing for an EDI officer or curriculum, or I think it's an officer, but elaborate on that for us.
Yes, so a little over 2 years ago, I approached Joplin Schools with a stack of letters from organizations just talking about the desire to see diversity efforts increase. Really no response from that, and from what has been reported from Joplin Schools, there's just not a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts happening right now. So recently what we did is specify that effort into a diversity professional or even a DEI officer, which would be a person designated to really focus on any issue related to diversity. So they're not only going to look at policies and practices, but they're going to look at training for faculty and staff. And not any one identity, but really making sure that all students from many different areas are being supported appropriately. So that is what I'm championing right now with the Joplin Schools, is that they really follow the trend of what's happening nationally and acknowledge the need to be intentional about diversity efforts and put that position in place.
Okay. So you said 2 years. Sorry, that's a little rough for me sitting on this side, of course, and this is your baby. So tell me how you continue to knock on those doors, see those same people, because the people have not changed. But you're telling me everything that we're seeing as a society and you don't see a need. So how do you, I've come to you straight on, I'm going to come around the side. Like, how do you continue to have the exact same conversations with the people that just don't get it?
They get it.
Yes. I think Mel hit that on the head with that it is persistence. This effort is important enough to continue fighting for it and continue standing for it. So for me, I think it's a combination of really just internal drive, but also watching others. And you mentioned the youth earlier; they're really on fire. They care about these issues. And so if I can see other people putting in that effort, and I care about it too, why not join together and push forward?
Yeah, and it seems like just since the pandemic that, this is what you do. It's been here, but it's like even more heightened, and a lot of other companies are starting to look at that in their companies as well.
Absolutely, and thank you for bringing that up. This is not something that's just happening within schools. We are seeing major organizations invest in diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. And one of the big reasons for that is we now have the data to support that if your group is more diverse, it is more innovative and produces better revenue. And so it really is an economic issue as well if you are lacking in diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts.
Yeah.
That goes a long way, because everybody looks for that bottom line. How's that going to impact me? How's that benefit me?
And going into I call it the new world, people want to know, or it helps companies to have that in their things, in part of their company.
Absolutely.
Or organizations or schools or whatever. So I think it's things that's going to probably filter down, don't you?
Yeah, I would agree to that. I would agree. And just also acknowledging that if you were in the room with a bunch of people who you grew up in the same area, that you have the same culture and very similar experiences, y'all think alike.
Yeah.
So it's very beneficial to bring
Yes.
people in who think differently. But not only that, if you are doing something that's going to
speak
serve,
to that, 'cause that's definitely you.
if you are doing something that is going to serve people from a different group, you need to bring them to the table and hear from them. If you don't know me and my culture well, you can't make decisions that are going to serve me well without hearing from me. And so those are just a couple of the benefits of really diversifying not only the groups that we're in, but the ideas that we have.
That was profound because that has been one of the things that so many of our youth and even when I was going to school, if you don't have somebody that you see that looks like you, how are you being understood? You know, and you always hear the reports of, black kids, and I'm just saying as in that's in this instance, but are dismissed from school, kicked out of school, or put on detention or whatever so many times more than our white counterparts. And it's like, why is that? It's not that we're inherently bad. Are you not understanding some of the things that, we go through, and you're just using your own experiences and putting it on us?
So I think that would be part of it. But I first want to speak to the representation that you mentioned.
Do.
It is so important to be able to look and see someone that looks like you. I can remember, you're not that much older than me, but seeing you in role of city councilwoman whenever I was growing up was profound for my life. It saw leadership, it saw people in decision-making capacity that looked more like me, and that was really powerful. I can remember vividly the first time I heard a person speak with a doctorate who was also a black woman. And it suddenly, I can do that.
Yes.
And so representation, incredibly important. So yes, I think you mentioned students of color are suspended about 5 times more frequently on average in our nation. This is found all over, even fairly close. Lee Summit, I believe it was, did an assessment on theirs recently, and they found the same indicators. We can look at our data locally, and we can see major concern. It's data that's collected by the Department of Education, and so it's not questionable much at all. But we have to pay attention to it and care about it. So I'm being kind of long-winded, but let me hurry. So you mentioned maybe we don't know how to meet these students' needs, and that's part of the problem. But the other part of the problem is that people tend to have preference for certain people over others, whether they realize it or not. Right. And so when the student comes into my office for discipline, if you look like my little girl, or if you remind me of myself, you know what, I'm going to give you a break today. However, if my brain is filled with images of someone that looks like you who's a troublemaker,
wow,
I've just asserted that to you, and I'm going to treat you accordingly.
We can stop the show here. We're not, but wow.
Yeah.
And you say that, and it's really uncanny how it aligns even in corporate world. If you just happen to do something that triggered your boss wrong, and then it's time for your evaluation, you ain't getting a good review. I don't care what you do, but just like you're saying, if it triggers, I'm used to seeing, okay, y'all are troublemakers or whatever, and so I'm going to treat you accordingly. Wow.
Right? And if I could add to that just a little bit, how
Please.
does that happen? How do we get triggers in our brain that suddenly cause us to have biases and treat people different?
Through trauma.
Trauma is one of them. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
But also thinking about how our brain works and sorts information. And so if you lived in a place that's not very diverse like Joplin, you probably have not had a ton of interaction with people of color. But what you have seen is a media that over-reports people of color in a negative way. What you've also seen is a war on drugs. What you've also seen is gang activity being highly reported.
Right.
And so you take in all of this information, and your brain stores it back here in that area that says black people.
Yeah.
So as soon as you see a black person, without you being
Unconscious
aware
bias.
of it at all, yes, your unconscious bias kicks in, and suddenly your brain's like, threat. And so even without knowing it, if you are not intentional about counteracting those experiences of taking in negative information about a person or a group, then your brain will automatically respond to that.
Man.
Or if you're in a culture of like business too, where there's dominantly a certain group of people and maybe like diversity where you only have like 8 blacks and you might have 400 white people who run the company, that's a problem because there only know one way of running things and dealing with people.
Yes, I think of status quo when you say that.
Right, yeah.
Oftentimes we build things and we do them one way and we keep doing it that way, but as things change, we need to change, right? We need to look at the way we're doing things.
Right.
And so systemically, that's how we see things go wrong, is that our systems were built by the wealthy white Christian male. And so that doesn't serve everyone the same way. And so as we become more diverse, we have to stop and look at, have we been doing things in a way that is equitable and fair and supports everyone? And oftentimes the answer is no, and we need to do some work.
So basically what you could do is you bring the awareness to wherever it needs to be.
Yes, absolutely. Awareness is a huge piece of that. There's several components. Sometimes it's training. Sometimes it's helping identify policies that are most effective. Sometimes it's identifying issue, or even just an environmental review. Let me give you an example. If someone walks into my office and I have a cross on the wall, and this is, let's say it's a student who is from the LGBTQ plus community, and they perceive that cross means you don't believe my lifestyle is okay.
Right.
How does that impact that interaction? So sometimes it's looking at environmental changes that need to happen. When we think about ability needs, are we accessible for everyone? Have we, when we talk about religion, if we're going to celebrate Christmas at school, have we celebrated
Hanukkah.
Ramadan? Yes,
Ramadan,
exactly. Yes.
yeah.
What, have we made the students who are different in that way feel like they are as welcomed and accepted and appreciated and celebrated?
Included.
Included.
There's your inclusion, people. There's your inclusion.
Funny but interesting comment. A lot of the companies that you've seen that have picked up the DEI coordinators, officers, whatever be the case, they've been minorities. I feel, as we've had this conversation, in some of our, I don't know, urban, maybe it shouldn't be a person of color or a minority. Maybe it should be the other way, right? Because if we are saying we're going to be diverse, included, and all those things, but we're in mid-Chicago, Illinois, in a urban or all-black community, how can we teach them, how can we teach the people how to get along in white neighborhoods with white bosses and all those things if all we're going to do is show them this? So I don't know, just I guess a little nugget. What do you think?
I think depending on the space, what is most appropriate or works best, is most effective, I should probably say. For example, if I go into a room of all white people to train, it is very helpful to have a white partner with me to train.
Absolutely.
Because they hear me differently than they hear them. Perhaps from me, it's an attack or an accusation, where from them, it's an experience that we're trying to relate to. And so, depending on the space, however, I do want to say the reason we see so many people from diverse backgrounds in those roles of diversity professionals is that you have a lived experience that is hard to duplicate and brings you a level of wisdom that someone else just might not have and you can't learn in the books.
Plus, too, you're going to go off data of what you're dealing with, which that would tell you who to bring in, too, as well.
I do think, absolutely, data can guide us always.
You know.
If it's used effectively. Because a lot of people, you have the data, there people can have the data and they'll be like, okay, shelve that.
But a lot of times they won't even look at it.
So
they don't even know what they need.
If
they're not aware of what they need, or if they don't even care.
If it doesn't come out how they want it to be, they're like, let's bury that a little bit.
Bury it is what I see happening. Bury it and ignore it. And so what happens is when we want to bring these things to the surface and to the light, bring awareness, suddenly you're attacking or suddenly you're adversarial. When the truth is, I'm helping you out. Like, you need to grow, and so we're going to grow together. And so, it is data guided oftentimes into what the best practices are, and that's what a diversity officer does, is make sure that we are utilizing the absolute best practices to make the most welcoming and supportive environments that we can.
So why do you feel, or do you feel, that you get a lot of pushback when you approach this with the school board, or in general, when you approach this, you get so much pushback, and people say, "Are you keeping things stirred up, or you're stirring things up?" What's your comment for that?
Well, first I would say absolutely stirring things up
Yes,
as it needs to be.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's okay. It's very almost natural reaction to become defensive when someone tells you about your flaws.
Yes.
And so I understand why the resistance. However, my hope is that we have leaders and people who are in positions of power that can move on beyond their personal feelings of defensiveness if they have it and really look at the bigger picture. We are trying to improve our spaces. We are trying to meet the needs of today that are increasingly diverse. And so yes, gets lots of pushback, mostly because people don't want to hear about themselves.
Yeah.
And also too, it's change. So
Change is
whether
hard.
whether it's whoever it is, people have a hard time changing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the main thing is, hey, we've always done it like this. What's wrong with our system?
Yes,
Yeah.
Lord.
You know, now we got to change, and that's white, black, whoever. That change is hard for everybody.
Yeah, and if I can just give you a visual here.
No,
we
do so.
Get handsy a little bit. So whenever, what we have right now is we have some people like doing up here, they're doing real good, right? And then we have other people down here struggling. And in order to be equitable, we need for everybody to be more in the middle.
Right.
So what's happening here, right? These people are losing a little power. You know, there's a loss of power, a loss of, you know, they're now sharing decision making.
Yeah.
And so that can be hard. That can be hard to give into. But what we need to see happen is that they recognize that once we get here, then we do this. And things just work a whole lot better for everybody. And so there is a sense of someone's taking something from me that's mine and I worked for and has always been mine. And so it's tough. They're hard conversations to have, and having them in a position that's non-defensive and really empathetic for who you're talking to and their experience is key. And also just trying to hear other people's stories so that you can see where they're coming from and why they are rejecting your message, and then be able to address that accordingly.
So I have a question that's come in.
Yeah.
They come through all areas. So
Yeah.
I'm like, let me check this. Okay, missed two. Any luck in the area with our large corporations? Have you had the opportunities to have that conversation about officers in their spaces? And if so, where have you seen progress?
Yeah, so I've been invited, and so I don't know if these would be considered large to everyone, but the major hospitals, I've worked in both of those doing diversity work there. I've worked for the Boys and Girls Club across about 4 different cities. I got a call from the Wyandotte Nation today, and they are interested in talking about diversity work across 3 different states, many different casinos. So yes, the large corporations, they are money motivated and they are getting it, because recruiting diverse talent is everything to have that diversity of perspective in your work groups.
Absolutely.
And if your community doesn't feel welcoming, keeping someone in your area doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then if we cannot recruit the best talent, and some of that's going to be diverse populations, if we can't do that, do we begin to stagger in our progress as a community? Do we begin to not have as innovative ideas as other communities because we lack diversity? The answer for me is absolutely. And that's why you see entities like the Chamber of Commerce or major universities and things like that making efforts to address diversity, equity, and inclusion.
And it seems so elementary, because it's like, why wouldn't you want everybody to have an equitable platform? Why wouldn't you? And why would it be so much? Why are you fighting it so much? She's like, that's a question I'm asking.
I'll answer
For the school
power.
board.
Power.
It is.
That's what I was
It
gonna
is.
say,
And
yeah.
I know that, yeah. But it's just like, why? You know, it's going to benefit the students.
Yes.
So is that not what you're there for, is the students? Or
Yeah.
is this about now you and your ego, and not you, I'm saying the people that's on the board, you know, not allowing it in. Is it about them and their ego now, and not saying, well, because you brought it to me, we don't happen to maybe like you, so we're not going to listen to, you know, or whatever.
I feel she said that though, because just like she said, if she took a white counterpart with her, maybe she needs a white counterpart for the people that just aren't hearing Dola. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And you know, and that's why there needs to be so many different people at the table.
Yeah.
It's because we all are going to hear things differently from
True
different
that.
people. I can't receive the same message from everybody.
True that.
And so it's very important that we have diverse groups.
on all levels too, and I think that's key, especially around here. Like, okay, you can show me entry level, but I want to see the leadership. I want to see C-suite. I want to see diversity on all levels, and I think we are really failing at that around here.
From entry level to the top level.
All the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you point out something important. Inclusion is not just hiring a couple people who are of difference. Inclusion means that we see that representation with decision-making capacity and with power, and not just that they're in that space, but they are helping to guide that space as well. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, you're just that one black person that they know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got token. Well, we have a black person on our staff, or we have a, whatever, LGBTQD. And I don't know how many other letters.
You messed that up.
I did.
We knew what you meant.
You know what I meant. But that's what she's. It's like, well, I can check that box.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
that's what it becomes.
This is not a box checking effort. This is an ongoing process of making things right. We talk about oppression and inequity, how it hurts everyone. Mm-hmm. Think about how important it was, if you have children or siblings, for everybody to have the same thing. Mm. Okay, think about what happened if mama showed up and said, you get a cookie, you get half a cookie, and you don't get nothing. Mm-hmm. How well do those siblings get along?
Yeah.
That
happened.
Because I used to be so mad when everybody got the same, but that was just me. Like, why everybody get the same Christmas present? Like, and it really... But I was that person. Yeah. But I get it when you say it like that.
Your parents were smarter than you.
No, my parents didn't do that. It was grandparents that did that.
But
I'm just looking
saying your parents were smart?
I'm like, why did every grandkid get the same thing? Like, and it really. But now, when you literally 30 some odd years later, so that makes sense. She was just trying to keep peace.
This one more than that.
She was trying to keep peace.
Yeah, and sometimes to get to a point of equality or equity and equity are different. I just want to point that out. So equality is. Your grandma gave every single one of y'all the same thing. That was very equal.
Right.
But she already had you on an equal playing ground, so that was okay. Equity means, well, Jimmy don't have anything, and so we're going to get him an extra toy because we want him to have as many toys as everyone else. So we see things put in place. I'll give you the example of Pell Grants. Some people say, that's not fair. My kids didn't go to college for free. However, we know that we have a lot of reasons for disparities between income levels. If we don't lift up the lowest of us, we are only as great as our people who are struggling the most. If we don't lift them up, then we continue to have the major gap. And so programs like Pell Grants and sometimes assistance or affirmative action even, those things are to create equity. Fairness. And sometimes to get fairness in an already unequitable space, you're going to give different things to different people.
I mean, you can't say it any better.
What would you, just open space for you, what are some hot topics, some things that you would like to see change immediately if you had the option? I mean, I know there's probably a lot of things on that list, but talk to us about some things for you.
Yeah, so the one I would point to right now is something that's a hot topic, I think, in our area, and that is our policies within our local police department. They are lacking in some significant ways, and it's very evident. So right now, Joplin for Justice actually has somebody who is looking at the website and comparing that to the policies that were provided to 8 Can't Wait to do the initial assessment and see if there's any changes in there. We're hoping to see some progress. So what I would change right now is our local policy, our local law enforcement being willing to say, you know what, we need to do better, and then do better. Instead of trying to seem like everything's okay when it's not.
And you run into that a lot. That, like you said earlier, it's not broke, let's not fix, it's not broke, so it must not need fixed. But yeah, it is. Because it's been this way, and just because you put it into play, that makes it right. But it doesn't.
Yeah. And so I kind of went small when you asked me. You said anything. I kind of went small. I would apply that globally. So, there's just a lot of work to be done. And the only way that it happens is when people get involved and intentional about making it happen. When people come together and collaborate and join our skills to really be one powerful force. And so that's what Joplin for Justice tries to do, is coordinate those efforts together.
I mean, the one good thing is, though, at least you get your foot in the door, with what you do, because without your foot, there was a time we didn't get our foot in the door. So at least you're in the room, you know what I mean, to make a difference.
I can appreciate being in the room, but I can tell you sometimes I kick that door in.
And that's what. And I'm like, I agree with that, but I'm like, I think we have to give ourselves a little bit. We're in the room now, where like when I was coming up, you didn't see a lot. I think the men was in power. They were in power.
Yeah.
You wasn't getting. I don't care about no inclusion.
Yes. And I'm fortunate to live in a community that I really think people want that for our community. They want that reputation of being very welcoming and supportive of many different types of people. And so even though I've had some really tough times growing up, the greater experience was a lot of support from my community in whatever differences I may have had. And so I'm happy to be in a place where I'm not always kicking down doors. That some of them are just opened right up for me.
Like that. So you said you were doing you're a doctoral student?
So I'm recently accepted and about to start a PhD program in public policy with an emphasis in social justice.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's right up my alley. I want to make some laws I want to help support legislation, whether that be through the research or actually implementing it, whatever that looks like. As long as I don't have to be the politician, I want
was just
to be
getting
part of
ready to
that
say
process.
that. I was like, well, why don't you run for council?
You have to be really politically correct, and you have to
No,
pull
you
it
don't.
together.
Well, yeah.
And me,
Can't cuss
when
people
I'm
out
mad,
all the
my
time.
face just lets you know, and then my words do after that. And this, it might
Man.
not be a good representation for the people.
Yeah, well, okay, I get that. Because there were many times, yes, that I'll be like,
But anything's possible.
yeah.
So we got a question.
It could happen.
What about, you mentioned Joplin for Justice kind of established after George Floyd. So we're coming up on a year. Are there any plans for events for?
Yes, we are so super excited. We have our 1 year celebration on June 5th. That'll be at Ewart Park from 2 to 5. So we chose Ewart Park initially because that historically was the park that was designated for the Black community. There's a lot of history there. And we then, sorry, I got distracted by the time reminder. So we chose Ewart Park, and so what we're doing for our celebration is really focusing again on that Black Lives Matter movement, and so we want to elevate some of our local artists of color, and also we are inviting lots of justice or equity related organizations to come and tell about what they're doing. We'll have a community education, but also lots of fun. So music, some food trucks coming out, bounce house for the kids, just lots of stuff. It's going to be a blast. You don't want to miss it.
June 5th.
Okay, June 5th.
We need to make sure
June
we're there.
5th at Ewart Park, 2 to 5.
2 to 5.
That's a
Wear your
Saturday,
mask,
so
too.
you can sleep in and go out at night and still be at my event.
And
So
and
Yes.
no excuses is
Oh,
what you're
yeah.
saying. No excuses.
I dig it. We
That
gotta
is-
make sure we show up.
Yeah, we gotta be there.
Yeah.
It's a Saturday, right?
it
Oh my
is.
goodness.
Can I just
Okay.
say
Take
one
off.
thing real fast?
Yes.
I know this is y'all show, but this is really
It's your
important.
show now.
Yeah.
really
Go ahead, go ahead, doctor.
So I just want to give a shout out to every single person, especially the leadership team for Joplin for Justice. This is a community effort. This is not a DOLA effort. This is not an individual effort by any means.
Right.
The only way Joplin for Justice has kept a constant media stream and been so effective and so prevalent and present is that we have a community of people that come together and bring their skills to the table. And I am so incredibly thankful to all of you.
And that's important too, because a lot of times you being the spokesperson, people think, oh, there she goes doing this, da, 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 da. But it's like, no, it takes a whole army of people to make things happen.
Yes, like you all who are graciously sharing this message. So thank you.
That's important and long overdue. Long overdue.
I think we'll be hearing probably more from her as
Heck yeah.
as the world turns.
And it's
Round
gonna
and
keep
round we
turning,
go.
so
Absolutely.
here we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but is there any last words you want to say that you want people to know, or anything, a message you want to get out there?
Yeah, just that we have a Facebook group that we really communicate and connect, but then we also have our page that have our efforts on there, including the call to action, asking Joplin schools to hire a diversity officer, and also information about the Joplin Police policy assessment. And so just connect to our page, and we will continue to put information out on how you can get involved.
And I know we forgot to ask though, where does it stand now? We know you approached them, so what? We know they.
So we have our coalition who will meet for the first time, and we currently have about 10 different between faith-based and nonprofit and for-profit organizations, and we're looking for more support on that. So we're seeking more people to come together and say, we want this to happen. So our coalition will meet later this month, and then we'll discuss next steps. We have had no communication from Joplin schools.
Wow.
Womp womp.
Do better, Joplin.
I guess we'll
do
better
better,
kick the door.
Joplin
Yeah.
School
Better go
Board.
kick some doors.
Riley, I know you're on the board. Just saying. I need to do better.
I have no words.
Call them out.
I have no words.
There is none, because why would you not have what is the resistance
Yes.
on something like that?
Maybe
It's
we
not.
should have the superintendent back.
Yeah, we could do that. Mindy, we need to have you back, because we really need to know. I want to know.
And people say finances, how are we going to pay
I don't
for
know.
it? You know what? When you see a need this great, you
Yeah.
figure it out. You pull from other places. You collect from community sponsors. You do whatever
Don't
you
even
have
need
to.
to.
because
There's
we're
money
talking
in the
about our
school
kids.
bond tax that they pass. They can pay for it. It
Yes,
can
they
be paid
can.
for. Don't let that. That's not. Yeah. Don't let me get back at it. Political. Yeah. So thank you, Dola.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Man. Ain't no reason.
Hey,
No words.
got more work to do.
Work never ends. That's
This
for
is
sure.
what we call job security. No, but anywho,
Yes.
next week
Yes.
we will have Reverend Dr. Hurley.
Travis.
Yes.
Oh, blue eyes.
I don't know how many people
Blue
said,
eyes.
"Man, those eyes." I'm like,
Ice blue.
Mhm.
Yes. And this time he's going to be talking about race issues and how they,
should pair nicely after we've had Dola
absolutely,
Mhm.
today. I'm interested
absolutely.
to hear a different perspective,
A
shall
different
we?
perspective.
Mhm.
As a white man that preached at all black churches.
Could you imagine?
Nope.
But so, yeah, I mean, but we've been there. Like, I've been
Yeah,
the only one
yeah.
in classes most of my life. And so
Grew
this
up
should
that
be
way,
an interesting
yes.
conversation.
Yeah.
How- how-
And he did on the East Coast, so
Yeah.
that's even more
How
in
did
Maryland.
How did that make you feel?
Yes. How did you feel as the minority?
He ate
Okay. He ate good. He ate good.
But that's what we got.
We gotta shout out our people real
Oh,
quick.
yes, carry on.
Just go
Carry
ahead.
on.
No, you shout out while I'm pulling them up.
I mean, all I see right now is Don R. Colbert. Don R. Colbert. I just see a lot of him.
Cole
right now.
Wallace, James Simmons. What'd
See?
say?
You can't read it
I do
either.
see the R now.
Just James then. Just James.
Pamela, Norma, Roy Spence, Darl Esmond,
Reverend Nero.
Reverend Nero, Nita, Cheryl Fields, Penn
Tawana and
Jerry
Legend.
Anita Brown Reeves, Brenda DeRossa, Tiffany Colbert, who else? Marilyn Kay, Linda Johnson. Now people gonna start chiming in so they can get their names mentioned.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, they want a shout out, huh?
Hey, let me check in real quick. Let me check in. But thank you guys for joining us, and hopefully you'll join us again next week. And this weekend
Ah, yes.
is the 10th memorial of the tornado.
Y'all, it's been 10 years.
10 years.
Where does the time go?
10, man. 10.
There's all kinds of activities.
There's a
and
lot
festivities.
at
Wow.
Cunningham Park, and a lot of them will start at 3, but the main program will start at 5, and it will conclude at like 5:41 because they want to make sure to mark the
The
time. And I know the former governor Jay Nixon will be here, and pretty much
A
the
whole lot
whole
of
world
people.
will come back down and see what we've done and how we've progressed. So, and it's
Good.
been all the people. The people have made it happen
Absolutely.
from not only the community but all over the world.
That's true.
Man,
Everybody knows Joplin. now.
everybody knows Joplin, but we want it to be known for even bigger things, not just the tornado.
Well, we're known for bigger things.
We are known for bigger
Look,
things.
our
Thank you
people
for
are
joining
going.
us. Okay, wrap it up. We'll see you
We'll
next
see
week.
you. Bye.
This is your announcer, D.R. Colbert, still working for a bottle of crushed grapes and that meal, saying thanks for listening to the Colbert Connection with Melody and Donika. If you like our show and want to know more, check us out next week, same time and place, when we talk about everything, including you, if you do not tune in to next week's show. Catch the Colbert Connection Tuesday at 1800 hours or 6 p.m. See you sooner than later. Good day.